Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. We've got an AAMI Community Series match coming up against the Premiers, and I thought there's nobody else I need to be speaking to get a glimpse of what the sentiment is like from the other side than Caden McDonald. Kados, first of all, congratulations. Welcome back. Another year's come and gone. I'm going to stop talking because I want to know what it's like to be you.
Terry, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. I know this is just a practice match, but I'm sure that you're very similar to me. We read into everything, whether it's an intra club where we're seeing how people go, seeing how the blokes pull up as well. So I'm really excited to head along on Thursday and see the team in the flesh for the first time in, a long, long time. I think the last game I saw. Well, it might have been the Port Adelaide game that I went over to Adelaide to see, and then sort of after that, the boys were away. Yeah, unbelievable! I can't believe we won the flag. It's still, I don't know if it was because it was in WA or whether it was just it happened so quickly. One year we're finishing ninth, the next year we've just knocked off the Cats, and with a kick after the siren, we're the minor premiers. And I thought, oh well, geez, no matter what happens in this final series, we're playing with house money, finished on top. This is a great launch pad. But then we knocked over Brizzy, knocked over the Cats. Oh, well, the Bulldogs are the real deal. Knocked them over. All of a sudden, it just happened so quickly. We're the premiers. And I still go into this season with a bit of apprehension. Like, I still go into this year, maybe it's the 15 years of being down the bottom and the 1 year of having a good year, or maybe it's because a couple of years ago we made a prelim but then finished second last. I'm still aware that it's very hard to be a good football side. So I'm sort of as nervous as I've ever been, especially with the expectation to come into this season. But oh man, so excited.
Yeah, no, I can sense it in your voice, and I have to make an admission, which I haven't actually told anyone this, but I thought this would be the perfect moment to tell people. So I watched your grand final game day vlog. Obviously, you're watching it at home with your dad, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I watched it. Great video, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried. There was a moment in the video where I could see it in your eyes, like the realization of, oh my god, it's happening. And I just sort of cast my mind. I got goosebumps now recounting it, but I cast my
That's
mind
awesome.
through you, thinking, what would I be like? And I started welling up. I'm like, oh my god.
That's awesome. That is unreal to hear. Some of the comments on the Demon Fan Diaries were so positive, especially after the grand final win. Two of my favorite bits of content I've probably ever been a part of: the game where we beat Geelong in round 23, kick after the siren, just how full circle it was. I am a Geelong-based Melbourne supporter who gets excited every time my team comes to town. It's like, oh yes, like I remember being a little kid and I was so excited that David Neitz would be in Geelong. Like I couldn't comprehend that David Neitz is in my town. Like that, like it was just the biggest day of the year for me. And I'd go along to Skilled Stadium and Simmons Stadium at the time, and we'd lose by 150 points every time. And it was just heartbreaking. And then I would be this sort of 10, 15-year Melbourne member going to school, getting bullied by Geelong supporters that don't go to games at GMHBA. So like there's supporters that are happy enough to rinse me that we lost by 190 points, but it's too much of an effort to go 10 minutes down the road to watch their great team who are winning flags for fun. So that game was incredible. And then, yeah, the grand final, uh, that third quarter, I still can't believe it. I can't believe what they did. And it felt like this birth of this football side. It felt like I know it was just a practice match the other day against North Melbourne, but Clayton Oliver now, I think now that they know what they've achieved, the way he was wandering around in that practice match was like, instead of the young kid trying to prove himself, he was sort of the bully, and Christian Petrarca's walking around like the bully, and Gorney's got this strut of like this, like, oh, we know we can do it. We are this team. And I don't know what happened, but in that third quarter, it just birthed potentially the next few years for this Melbourne Football Club. So yeah, that game was unbelievable. I had the camera on me the whole game. I've got my whole reaction, every biff, bump, and brawl I've got on camera for the whole 2 hours. And I think for me, when I felt like we probably had it was when we'd got the little run on to get it back to even. And when Petrarca crumbed the ball in the pocket, dribbled it along the boundary, and then he starts walking back to the center, and the camera cuts to like Bont and Trelaw, and they're scratching their head with their head down, and then it cuts to Christian Petrarca, and his eyes are possessed. I don't know what happened. He got taken over by maybe the devil or the demon, but there was something in his eyes, and he was just like breathing fire out of his nose. And I was like, these boys are going to be hard to be stopped from here. And then in the next 30 seconds, they kick another two. So yeah, it was crazy, crazy scenes. And then I celebrated by just having a few lemonades at home because I couldn't leave the house. It was just weird build up of energy and tension. And it's like, what do I do with this? What street can I go down and trash just like Richmond supporters? Or, where can I go? And the only place I could go was nowhere. So it was just this weird experience. But if that's the one that, the one flag that we're lucky enough to get and see, I will take that every day of the week. It was an amazing year, and that season as a whole was something that I'll never forget. And I can't believe it still.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're going to live to tell the story one day. Children, grandchildren, cousin, nephews and nieces and all of that. And I think the beauty of being in the game that we're in is, we have a video documented journey that
Crazy.
the historians one day will look back on in 100 years and say, oh, this was the sentiment after the Demons broke their drought, or in my case, this is the journey until we get ours.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's going on our strike rate of one flag every 57 years. I'll be 83 the next time we win one. So to just know at that age, I can get up the old YouTube, fire up the old laptop and show, like, we barely have footage of the 1964 flag, let alone every reaction to the game. Like every biff bump, every second of that game, I filmed my reaction with myself and my dad. So kids, grandkids down the line, I can show them, oh yeah, me and your grandpa watched that. Yeah, back in 2021. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, yes, I did. Here's what happened. So it is crazy. And I've heard you speak about that before, like documenting, sort of like historically documenting the last few years. And that's what's so exciting. Like over the last 5 years, I've got like vlog entries. Over the last 2 years, I've almost got every D's game, every second of it captured on live streams. So it's just weird going back to like key moments, key games, and I can see this exact second of how I reacted. It's bizarre, but it's so exciting and so cool.
There's something you touched on just now, which is where my perception of the D's comes from. So I'm about to get out my season predictions, and it's going to be no secret. I think, I'm predicting you guys to go back to back. And one of the key reasons is that I feel like you've unlocked it, whatever it is. And I think
Yeah.
there's a confidence build, and then there's a, can we do it, or do we make a prelim and fall short, or do we make grannies and just fall short?
Mm.
But you guys have been fortunate enough, and also the failures, you've had them. You've been in the dumps many years. You talk about the 150-point losses. I feel like because your group has experienced such pain, once you reach where you guys are now, I don't see them getting complacent and throwing it away. Do
Mm.
you feel that?
Yeah, I do. Even throughout last year, I don't know if this will sound condescending in any way, but I don't think I watched a game that the D's played where I was like, geez, we played 4 quarters. Potentially the Gold Coast game towards the end of the season. The Suns didn't rock up. They had to fly down randomly. Like it was meant to be their home game. All of a sudden they're playing at Marvel. We were coming off a bit of a slump, and apparently the slump was a Darren Burgess mini preseason in the middle of the season. And yeah, we just put them to the sword. But apart from that, if you watch most games, like I was seeing highlights the other night, and it's like the game against Brisbane, we're down by 20 points at halftime. Probably should have lost that. And there was other games like that where throughout the game, like we beat Adelaide by 30 or 40 points late in the season, but it was even halfway through the third. So uh, we weren't dominant. When the final siren went in round 23, we're third on the ladder. It just so happens we still have the ball in our hands and we got one kick left, which put us to first. So it wasn't a dominant year. And in games, we weren't that dominant. And it was this young side figuring out where they fit and sit. And like a 24-year-old, 25-year-old Clayton Oliver, 25, 26-year-old Christian Petrarca, most players don't really become into their elite prime till 27, 28 when you have those Dusty Martin type years. And these blokes are starting to unlock that sort of confidence now. So I feel like, yeah, I reckon winning that flag has completely changed the history of the football club for the next 5 to 10 years. I feel like falling short, I don't know whether the pressure of doing it again and breaking the 57-year drought again I think, like, if that had doubled going into another year, that probably would have been so overwhelming that our next 3 or 4 years would be really, really difficult. But now that we've broken through the other side, we're playing with house money and we're playing with a bit of a freedom, and the age demographics really starting to hit the stage where you do win flags. So it's weird because I'm so aware of the fact that it's so hard to win week to week, and then it's so hard to win throughout 23 rounds, and then it's so hard to put it together for finals, and a lot has to go right. And I saw my team play prelims and then finish second last the next year. So I'm excited and I'm optimistic, but I'm also aware that you got to respect the competition, and it's not a foregone conclusion. Anything can happen. So there is still, maybe it's that deep down Melbourne supporter in me where there's that little bit of reserve where it's like, all right, you did win a flag, but it's anything can happen. It's not over yet. But it's the most excited I've ever been going into a season for sure. If I'm rambling too long, just cut me off, by the way.
No, mate. No, I want to soak up every second. You go right ahead, mate. You go right ahead. I'm just thinking as you're talking there, I'm like, am I going to be this humble if Carlton win a flag? Like, I'm not humble and we win one game. If we win 2 in a row, I'm yapping. I'm already yapping.
I love that, though. And I think if it's in your nature, it's got to be done, because there's so many people I want to stick it up. Like, and there's so many people I want to be like, oh, there was tweets throughout the year, and I screenshotted a couple and they're on my camera roll. And I'm like, I'm tweeting this at the end of the year. And one of them was like, D's go out in straight sets after we had that little patch in the middle of the year. And when we won the flag, I'm like, this is going up. And then I'm like, oh, I'll cross out the person's name because I don't really know them. It just popped up on my Twitter feed. And then I'm like, oh, but is that weak? But then I don't really want it. So I just didn't do anything with it. So there is that part of me that's like, we've copped it for years. Everyone's season predictions didn't have us in the top 8. Everyone said Ben Brown wouldn't work. People criticised Stephen May and Jake Lever that move. And now other teams are looking to have a backline like that. People said, but I had conversations with people at parties who said, yeah, Christian Petrarca, he's an Alex Fasolo type. Like, he's just that sort of small forward mid that hasn't quite worked. And I'm like, he's 21 coming off a knee. Give him time. It's just, there was so many doubters. There was like this for a long time. But anytime I've ever gone, up yours, the days are good, the next week we get rolled. And then I cop it 10 times worse. So I'm someone who's like, I'm not a real tit for tat person because I'm aware that like the tide will turn. And for me, the tide turned for 15 years. So I don't know, maybe it's the losses that I've accumulated, but I'm just not in the like stick it up your phase. I'm just glad that we're in a phase where we're not really copping it at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I need to take a page out of your book because I've got receipts in my phone as
Oh,
well.
I love that. I love that.
And they're ready to go out. So I think that's what kind of makes Carlton is I think historically we're an arrogant team. We've got the most premierships, and that argument does not run true and has no relevance to 2022. But it's been historically a club that's proud and got champions and premierships and success, and there's a whole new identity with us now, I guess. And I spoke to you last year when we played each other, and I remember getting your thoughts about like your perception of us, and we had a bit of a chat about like we weren't so far away from each other 5, 6 years. It seemed 5, 6 years ago, we were sort of like an up and coming team. From the outside looking in, what is the perception of Carlton now?
So over the last couple of years, there was a lot of hype, especially in 2020. when it was COVID affected, the quarters got shortened. And I remember at the start of the year, before there was like a 12-week break between round one and round two or whatever it was. And Gary Lyon goes, shorter games and shorter season will benefit younger sides. He's like, younger sides will have better years this year. And that just stuck with me in my head. So when we saw Carlton, St Kilda, and Gold Coast have really good 2020 years, where I think Saints made the finals, Carlton were nearly in finals, Gold Coast won like 5 games in a row. They knocked off West Coast, Freo, maybe Port in this like little. That's when Matt Rao was taking the piss. So I just remember having that in my head, like, oh, well, younger teams are in it for longer because the game isn't as long where the younger bodies burn out and the season's less. So it's not like it's getting to round 18, 19 and their bodies aren't up for it. So I was just aware of that fact. So when people were like, oh, the Blues are in the finals in 2021 or whenever that was like that sort of momentum started to happen, in my head, I was like, I'm not so sure. Like I was a little bit reserved on the Blues because I was like, I think coming back out of that COVID time and into like full games, I think it might affect younger sides. And I feel like it did a little bit potentially. Like Gold Coast weren't as good as they were in 2020 and the Saints missed the 8. And then teams like the D's who have that, like we had this big fitness program, which was meant to help us in 2020, but the games got shortened. So teams are just in it longer anyway. So instead of us like blitzing teams at the end, like we did in 2021, the games are just shorter. So we don't get to show our new fitness, which we then when it went to 2021, we got our opportunity to be the fittest side in the comp. So it was just funny how that stuff sort of affected teams. I've been reserved with the Blues for a long time because I look at them and I see supporters having conversations that I had in like 2017. I remember, I think it was Goody's first year, and I'm like, this team is making finals. And we got to the last round and fell short. And in 2016, we were sort of 10th, 11th, 12th in Roosy's last year and fell short. And I remember looking at the side going, this side should be making finals. But then a few years later, when they matured and some personnel got swapped, like I look at our 2017 team now, and it had like Sam Frost and Oscar McDonald in the back line. And at the time, I thought that was like, this team's playing well. We almost made finals, but it just wasn't it. It just wasn't it. And I felt like Carlton in the last couple of years have been in that stage where you think it's there, but it's not quite right. In saying that, and I think I've said this recently, but I'm all in on this year. Like in previous years, when people have been all in, I've been a little bit reserved. I reckon there's no reason why you can't make the jump this year into the top 8. In my season predictions, I said I can see he's making a home final. I was doing my top 8 the other day, and I was like, oh, geez, the Giants, the Saints, Essendon, Richmond, the Blues. God, this is as hard as it's ever been to crack in. But I saw a really good connection with the group when they all shaved their head for Sam Doherty. And I was seeing stuff like that with the Ds at the end of last year. Really good connection with the group. If anyone signed on, everyone would put it on their Insta story. If anyone did anything, like the Ds were just so connected and blew me away. And they were doing like hill sprints with former players. And there was just some good cultural things that I saw happening at the end of 2020 going into last year. And I started to see that at the Blues a little bit. So there's definitely been some ticks. I think George Hewitt, Adam Chera, Williams, Sard, and the likes coming in, they're good talent. But at worst comes to worst, they give you good depth. So I started to get a little bit excited about the depth. With Liam Jones out, I'm a little bit worried about potentially being light on in the back line. I'm excited about the forward line. I think everyone is with the Blues. But I don't know. I've been, sort of reserved for a little bit about the excitement around them. But this year, I think if you like last year, you were probably 2 or 3 or 4 games off winning because you were within like 10 points or whatever it was. You win those games, you're potentially in the 8. So I see you closing the gap on those games. And I reckon, the Blues will probably make the 8 this year.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. And I'm also going to call you out on a little something there. You mentioned Oscar McDonald in a way that didn't give you confidence. I don't know. Oscar McDonald has quickly become a cult hero of mine. I've been on him early. I like what I see because he's just a job doer. He's not going outside parameters. And I want to know from your side, what happened and what do you expect from what can I expect from Oscar McDonald?
Well, I was talking about 2016 on Tom Hawkins, key defender Oscar McDonald,
Oh,
and
wow.
not 2021 key forward ruckman who kicks bags on Thursday night football against the Tigers, Oscar McDonald. Really good hands. In 2020, so I think Stephen May might have been out early in the season, but he was playing the Adam Tomlinson role where he wasn't the Stephen May role or the Jake Lever role. He was just that bigger body on that third tall to allow the other boys to peel off. And I think you ask most D's fans in 2020, his body and his physical ability really improved. And that's why when he got delisted, it was like, it's a bit of a shame because he was a real likely talent when he first got drafted, and now he's finally got the body for it. So I think the Blues in those pracky matches down forward, and then in that round one game, you saw just a bloke who's got an AFL body, and I like the move down forward, and I think potentially in the ruck a little bit. I like it. So you're probably going to see a better Oscar McDonald than the D's did because we just had him. He would play on Tom Hawkins one week, Charlie Dixon the next, and he was just not big enough. And then some of his decision making coming out of the back line, it wasn't skill errors, it was decision making errors. So it's like, Osk, probably just kick it down the line, kick it down the members, see if Gorney can grab it. But he'd try this like ludicrous 45, middle of the ground. His brother would do the same in defense. Tom McDonald, so would Sam Frost. It was very frustrating. Any one of those blokes that got it, they'd look in board and just think they're dusty, trying to chew off a bit more, or bite off a bit more than they could chew. So, Tom McDonald down forward, there's less sort of frustration because his decision making is just kick it at the goals, and Oscar McDonald a little bit similar. So, handy.
I think so. I mean, we're going to be playing him in defence, Vossi said, because obviously Jones is out of the club, and our new backline is going to be built around Wiedering, McGovern as like the lever role, and then Oscar McDonald is going to be just the one-on-one, key defender, and that's where we're going to play him. And I remember you guys made the prelim in 2018, and I think he featured pretty heavily in the team that year.
Yeah, he was in the whole year.
Yeah, so
it was him and Sam Frost.
Yeah, so I'm hoping, like, I'm not expecting too much from him other than play a role, lock down your man, don't get bags kicked on you, and let everyone else do the intercepting and the offensive flair and all the special stuff. So we'll see how that one plays out. But as we move into season 2022, and I know Melbourne's on the map, and we pretty much know most of the guns and whatnot and the up and comers. But who are some of the players that maybe us as Carlton fans or non-Melbourne fans aren't talking about right now that by the end of the year you think are going to really start emerging?
Geez, that's a great question. It's funny because I think you've probably seen a lot of them already, weirdly. Like, I think there was something like our best 22 last year was like, and I know every team says that, says this, but our best 22 was one of the youngest in the comp because Jones, Jeddah, Hibbert at stages, were pushed out for Jake Bowie, Trent Rivers, Luke Jackson, Kysaiah Pickett, Tom Sparrow, James Jordan. Like, that crop are like 20 and under, and it was ludicrous. We're hearing Tom Sparrow's ready. He is Jack Finey 2.0. He's an absolute bull. And even his little mannerisms are very Jack Finey-ish. But apparently he's having a really good preseason. And it's just funny. Like, I feel like years gone by, I could say a Tom Sparrow and people would go, who? But a Tom Sparrow, James Jordan, Trent Rivers, Jake Bowie forced their way in. And then we won a flag with those people in. So it was just a really confusing year where, like, I thought if we didn't have Nev Jeddah and Nathan Jones in the team, we were no hope going into games. And this is only a handful of years ago. And now they're getting forced out by 18-year-olds who are playing their role better. It was just crazy. So Tommy Sparrow is one that I'm really, really excited about. A bloke from WA. So we draft from WA quite heavily. We got Luke Jackson, Trent Rivers. This year we got Taj Woden, Juddy. There's a little kid called something Judd. And then there is Jacob Van Rooyen, who we picked up with pick 19, and the club just keeps showing highlights of him just taking clunk after clunk. And he's just this big brute of a lad. And I think he played in the back line for WA, but then would swing forward. So I think we've got him as a forward at the moment. But he's just got some of the best hands I've ever seen. So if we could see a bit of Van Rooyen at some point in the season, that would be really, really exciting. So that's someone, to look out for down the track. I would love to see a Kysaiah Pickett All-Australian breakout year in his third year. He does the most ridiculous things on a footy field I've ever seen. And some people criticize him because of the clickbait articles you see. Like, he played 2 great games at the start of last year. All of a sudden, this bloke's better than Cyril. Well, he's not. Well, of course he's not. He's 19 and he's not. No one's saying that. No one's ever said that. But they say these clickbait articles. And now you see any TikTok with Kysaiah Pickett or any Instagram, there's people saying overrated, overrated. And it's like, can we just appreciate this kid for the talent that he is? The thing that I would suggest is just watch what he does off the ball. I've just never seen anything like it. And maybe that's because for years, the small forwards that I would watch were, your Ben Newtons and some Casey Fields type operators that would somehow get a gig. What he does off field is incredible. He's shepherding, bumping, tackling, and pressure is just stuff that I've never seen in my life. All my mates started rinsing me that he had an awful grand final. What a horrible grand final. He had 2 kicks. Our first 5 goals, he's laying smothers, laying tackles. Petrarca's goal from the boundary, if you watch it in slow motion 150 times, like I have, you see a block from Kysaiah Pickett that allows, and it's so subtle and it's so instinctive for him. Like, it's sort of, he shepherds in a way that no one else would. It's like just off the cuff, he blocks Dunkley and Petrarca dribbles at home. So Kysaiah Pickett is someone who I am so bullish on, and I think he's going to play a bit more midfield time. So that'll be really exciting as well for the D's faithful.
Yeah. I think I'm really excited to play against you guys because I want it to be tough for us in the preseason. I want to play against the best competition that we can to prepare us for, Richmond in round 1. And we're talking about at Carlton building a new system and team defense and, moving as a unit. And I think, you guys are now the benchmark for, 18 men moving in unison across the ground. And,
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, so I'm excited for our new defensive scheme to be put under total pressure. I'm hoping you guys really turn up the heat, even if it's for 35 minutes of the game. Really turn up the heat like you did against North and really test us. Obviously, I don't want to come out with an 88-point loss, but I do want you guys to come out and give us something for us to really think about. And what do you look for in the preseason match now? What's it like on your end as we go up to Thursday?
Well, first of all, I'm keen to see. So I've heard a little bit of Aussie talk about the pressure, like the pressure that we're going to see from Carlton. That's a non-negotiable in this sort of footy. Like the Tigers did it, and the D's adopted a similar style where they just hunt and hunt and hunt and hunt. So I'm excited to see that from a Blues side. And he said he wants your team to be tough and contested, which is a bit of a footy cliche, but you can tell the difference between a Melbourne Footy Club tough and contested and then just sort of like a 10th to 14th tough and contested side. Like, there is a little bit of a difference. So if you can you got the balls anyway. You got your Walshies and Cripper and your Georgie Hewitts now. And like, these boys love getting their hands dirty. So, and that's all you want to see. Like, if you're losing by 10 to 20 points, but you boys have rolled their sleeves up, crashed in, chased and chased all day, you're walking home from the G, getting on the fan cams going, far out. Like, that was elite. Like, we got beaten by a cleaner side or a better side, but geez, the want and the pressure is really exciting. So I think if that can be brought every week, you'll be a very, very happy fan base for the site because you're going to see some good footy. For me, with preseason games, so I reckon you can take a lot out of preseason games. And I know a lot of people write on Twitter and whatnot, well, it's just preseason, mate. Who cares? It's like, you can take heaps out of it. I like to see the ball movement and like at the start of last year, we played Richmond in our first trial match, and it was just completely different. Like the way we strung the ball together, the way we left clearances, like center clearances, I was like, oh my god, we've leveled up from last year. And then that sort of transpired and translated into the 2021 season. And this year, I wrote to Connor Rogers, one of my best mates, and a couple of other people. And I'm probably getting a little bit too excited for preseason trial games at Casey Fields. But I saw, I think I sort of alluded to it before. I've seen a team that appears as if they've leveled up. So I'll be looking for more of the same. Cripper and Walshy and all those boys in the midfield. It's a great midfield. And I want to see how we exit against them, because at times against North Melbourne, we were sort of walking it out a la third quarter against the dog style, which I'd never really seen us do in the season, and it all clicked at that game. So if that's something we can pull out of our ass a couple of times a game, it's such a powerful tool to have. And so I want to see against a better midfield in the Blues midfield on Thursday night, whether we can do some of that stuff, whether our connection with the forward line is as slick as what it was on the weekend and what it was sort of end of last year. Like a couple of years ago, we were considered a horrible foot skill side and a slow side. We couldn't move the footy end to end. Off turnover, these boys burn other teams. If you cough it up in the middle of the ground, it is just whisked away. So I just want to see the connection. And yeah, apart from that, I'm not really going to take that much from the game, but just little things. But I get excited. I'm just pumped, and
Yeah.
I'm going to head down, and I'm keen to see the boys in the flesh for the first time in 55 years, it seems.
No, I'm with you. And the point you made about when you guys score off turnover, that has been our Achilles heel for years now. It seems when we turn the ball over, which is a little bit too more often than what we would like, but when we turn the ball over, we get scored on really quickly. And Richmond have carved us up for many years. I look at you guys as a situation really not so dissimilar to Richmond. So many years of heartache, finally unlock yourselves and then go on a 3 or 4 year run where you've got the premiership. I call it premiership belief or championship confidence. I think only one
Yeah,
team,
great call.
maybe two teams have it. I think you guys obviously have it, and I'm keen to see, because you'll be tested. That's the beauty now. You're going to have the target on your backs every week. You're going to get everyone's best shot. But I think this year will reveal itself to be the year where the D's show that championship mentality.
Man, yeah, it's crazy. And as I said before, like if they didn't cross over to that last year, I feel like these next few years could just be wasted, where I don't like calling out Port Adelaide or any other side, but a Port Adelaide, they've been up there for 3 or 4 years now. The age demographic isn't a Brisbane Lions, who like Brisbane have been up there for 3 or 4 years, but they're so young and they're making top four, and they're still yet to fully form as a side. Port Adelaide have your Robbie Grays, Dixons, Bokies, who are on that other side of 30, and they haven't quite got that belief. And if anything, their belief's been shattered. Like if you rock up to a prelim and get blown out of the water from the team that finished fifth, it's like, even though fifth in brackets, the Dogs were probably the best team all year. I just don't know how you respond to that, or how you go into the preseason going, nah, we can beat the best. And especially when they didn't beat the best all season. So as I said before, if the D's didn't get it done this year, I feel like that weight and that pressure would just double, and it would have been suffocating. So just the freedom to get the monkey off the back and now have that championship belief, and know that the best sides in the comp have to make up 12 goals on you. It's crazy. It's a different gravy of belief that I think these boys have. So I'm hoping we don't do what we did in 2018, make a prelim, finish second last. And I'm hoping that we can at least finish top four again. And I know it sounds stupid saying like, I hope we can, but you never know. These seasons are so tight and so, yeah, tightly contested that who knows what will happen. So if we could finish top four again, then I think even if it's third or fourth, I still believe that this side can probably do it again.
I think so too. I think get yourselves. I mean, top four. What do they say? Give yourself the best chance. Get the second. You get the second chance as well if you need it, especially that time of year. Now we don't play until round 22.
I hate
So
that.
yeah,
That's Yeah, I hate that. We'll play a couple of teams twice before then as well.
Yeah, it's very strange. We finished the season with Brisbane at the Gabba, the D's at the G,
Oh my
and then
god.
Collingwood to finish the season. So, um,
Oh, yeah. You knock off the Pies to finish sixth, and you get your home final.
well,
But
that's the dream.
it it'll test you, and you need those games though. So, and I get the feeling, considering the last couple of years, it'll be one of those ones where it's in your hands and you've got these hard games. So I think towards the end of the season, it's like you control your own destiny. What Carlton are going to turn up for the remainder of the season? Is it the Carlton that drop the game against Brisbane and then drop their heads, come back to the D's at the G, or is it one of those eras or one of those times where you knock off the Lions and then you only need one game from your last two, and then you bring it to the D's? And I don't know. So it's going to be really interesting, but that's exciting. That's an exciting time for a footy club.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it to be difficult. I don't want an easy run. I don't want there to be any question
100%.
about, oh, but you got a soft draw. I don't want none of that. I think technically our first 7 or 8 or 9 games would be considered a soft draw, but the reality is when the season starts, it just changes. The dynamic of the teams that are good the year before, it changes. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited for Thursday. Keen to get into round one and just move away from 2021 and move more closer into this Michael Voss led Carlton Football Club. And I'm hoping that by the time we speak again on a preview, it's the Blues in the finals race and the D's just resting a few players because they've already sewed up top spot.
Jeez. Yeah. And it's just going into this year after the last couple of years, the appreciation you have that, like, I'll get to go to the G every week now. It's just
Mm.
talk about getting emotional and sort of sounding a bit nuffy-ish, but it's just so exciting. And like, I love it when it's cold, and I love it when it's Sunday, and I love it when it's 3:20 and you're rocking up to the G and it's that dusk sort of time and it's cloudy, so it's dark by the time the ball bounces and the floodlights are on, but it's still daytime and Channel 7's calling, and it's just the best. And then you drive home on a Sunday and you're on the fan cams. I'm whipping up a vlog, and it's not work at all. It's like, this is my hobby, this is my passion, but I get to do this every week. And yeah, I love that stuff so much. So it's only around the corner, and hopefully it's uninterrupted. And yeah, I'm pumped to see how the Blues go. They're one of my favorite sides, and I'm not just saying that. I love like young teams, and I can connect to them because it's like I've seen my team be in that situation before. And one of my best mates, Connor Rogers, goes for them and bleeds yeah, the navy blue. So yeah, I'll be whipping them home. And I think I might be wrong, but I think this year could be the year where there's a bit of improvement. So it's exciting times.
I hope so. I want to ask you one more thing just before we round off, because obviously you've been in this game for quite a while. I would say you really sort of blazed the trail for those after you, and like for me, you were one of the first people I saw on YouTube doing it regularly. How do you how do you see the dynamic of footy YouTube or fan made content as a whole, and how do you see it playing out this year?
This will be the biggest year for footy content on YouTube ever. I felt a big spike in 2019, not well for my channel personally, but for the community. There was people popping up left, right, and center. I personally felt like it plateaued a little bit in the COVID years. I'm not sure whether footy's as exciting when it's 16-minute quarters and it's played in far north Queensland. Um, People probably just, like, if you're not going to the G every week, as if you're not going to play 2K and Fortnite and just forget that footy exists, especially if your team's out of the 8 and whatnot. Like, so the interest sort of dropped off in the last couple of years, but particularly now, I feel a real buzz around the community. I love the community so much. I get so excited when I see new people hopping on. I see TikTokers giving YouTube a go. I see YouTubers giving TikTok a go. I see podcasts start to dominate, like True Footy last year. I see young kids like the Cardman 22 and Mitchy Ryan do some great stuff. Swoop Luke, yourself. Like, I just love it. And it's funny that it's a niche within a niche, within a genre, within a subculture. And it's so supportive. And yeah, I just whip anyone home who makes footy stuff because it's the more the merrier. And even now that like footy players are starting to use YouTube, everyone can get a lick of the ice cream. And I think
Yes.
if a Mitch Robinson is making content, that's great for Terry from Blue Abroad. And I think if Tom Mitchell's doing some ball magnet stuff on YouTube, that's great for the card man. Like if it's bringing eyes to the platform, I think it's great for everyone. So I'm really bullish about this year for everyone. And yeah, I think this will be probably the biggest year and the best year for online content. And I hope soon we start to see the sort of growth in subscribers for everyone that people deserve. And I think we will. And I think it takes a little time to sort of get good enough to edit and good enough to produce good content. And you start hitting a standard which is actually sort of decent. And like for me personally, like when I felt like my videos started to get half decent, I'd look back 2 or 3 years and go, oh, they sucked. Why would people watch them 2 or 3 years ago? And then when you get to that level where you start to make good stuff more consistently, it's it's exciting. And I'm seeing a lot of channels start to cross over to like really good, solid content. And yeah, I'm just get me to round one. Like I'm just so bullish, so excited, and yeah, just keen. So I think it's an exciting time to be involved in this. And yeah, I'm willing to help out any way I can. So I just love it.
Love it, mate. Love it. Nah, listen, you've been great for me personally. It's like you said, it's good to have. It's important to have some sort of a community that you can relate to, pick up the phone and talk about things that are happening, and we're all going through similar issues and difficulties. And there's new platforms coming out, and there's new ways of doing things. So it's been fascinating when I think about when I started doing video on YouTube in my parents' spare room and where we are today. Got it's cool, and I think it's part of it is enjoying the process. Like we'll look back on
It's the best part.
these years and we'll be saying we'll probably enjoy these moments more than later on down the track, because this is where it was really raw and authentic. And so I'm with you. I love doing this.
Oh, yeah. The process and the journey is by far the best part. And like I've been in the mindset before where the channel's plateauing and like no progress is linear. Like even if you go to the gym, like the first couple of weeks of the gym, you go, oh Jesus Christ, like I'm starting to really muscle up here. And then the sort of next few weeks you plateau and you go, oh God, what am I doing wrong? And then it ticks over again and you start to put on more muscle. Like no matter what you do, whether it's in career or at school or at footy training, no progress is linear and there's always plateaus. And I think to be able to just embrace the plateau and embrace the sort of crap that you got to go through. And, there's been times where I've gone, oh, I feel like I should be here with my channel and I feel like I should be this. And um, that sort of mindset won't get you anywhere. You really got to appreciate the crap and really just roll your sleeves up and keep doubling down and keep going. And um, that's been my favorite part of the journey so far. Is like I love making videos and I love footy. And there's been times where people go, "Oh, why don't you make non-footy content?" And I'm like, I don't think of like I just love footy so much that I don't know
Yeah.
whether I really can. And yeah, to just keep chipping away at it, and now see like heaps of people hopping on and trying to do it. Well, heaps of people hopping on and doing it. It's just so exciting. But yeah, you got to really embrace the journey because without the gratitude, the success, like when you get the success, it wouldn't be uh, that exciting. It's sort of that I've been watching a lot of potties on this, trying to get my head straight. But there's that sort of mindset where like people want the gold medal, and they're like, not happy now, but I will be when I get the gold medal. Then they get the gold medal and they get depressed, and they're like, oh, like I'd feel as crap as what I felt the day before. So you almost need to like reverse it. Instead of getting success and then the gratitude, you almost need to have what you've got now, then the gratitude, then success, because you'll have the gratitude with the success. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I've been just trying to absorb and sort of positively take on some of the challenges. And I think we had a phone call towards the end of last year, and I was just flat as a tack. I was burnt out from sort of 2 years of overworking. Yes, making AFL Evolution videos, very hard, McDonald. Get a grip, mate. Yeah, I was sort of just burnt out and flat as a tack. And we had a chat, and you put me onto a couple of books that I smashed out on me long hour-long walks at night. And just, yeah, I really appreciated just some of the advice you gave and just the chat we had. So it really means the world to me knowing that there's people in this community now that can relate to things, and there's more people in this community now, which is just so exciting. So yeah, mate, let's just rip the lid off it. I'm just so excited. Bring
Love
it
it.
on.
Love it. Love it. No, I really appreciate your time. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm sure we will be talking very soon, mate. Good luck for the year ahead. And give us a nice test on Thursday night.
Yeah, no worries, Terry. Thanks for having me, mate.